Three. Okay, what's going on YouTube? It's PNG News Media here again with another edition of the Concrete and Steel Chronicles. Today, we're going to be having, I got Droopy. He's going to be telling you all about the other or Asian car inside the CDC. So without further ado, hey, Droopy, go ahead and give just a brief little introduction to who you are to the people.
They call me Droopy out in the streets and my homies. But as you can see, I'm Muslim now, so my Muslim name is Muhammad Anwar, and I'm from the IE in the Empire, which is Riverside.
Okay. So so tell me a little bit about how you grew up, like when you was running the streets of the Inland Empire. Like what specific neighborhood, what specific like group were you running with on the street and stuff like that?
Well, I grew up in different parts of Inland Empire. As I grew up, I basically remember growing up in Banning, California, and then from then on moving to Moreno Valley, and then from then on moving to Riverside, California, all in the Empire area. So my upbringing was pretty much, poor class areas, and a poor family, surrounded by older Asian individuals, Laotians, because I'm Laos, by the way. So
Okay.
surrounded by them, and you know, and they were Asian gang members. So you know, growing up in that environment, I myself as a youth, was looking up to individuals like these. They were hanging out and doing things together. They were, you know, stealing car radios and doing whatever they were doing, robbing people and coming back with money, coming back with material and things of that nature, right? So, the way they were dressing, the way they were talking, pretty much talking like, for lack of word, like blacks, right? So, and most Asian gangs were really blood or Crip, right? But, I grew up around Asians that were, representing the blue rag, representing Crips. Um, so I just grew up looking up to these individuals in these type of environments. So just um, a brief summary of how I grew up, and that's what basically what it would be.
Okay. All right. So you was pretty much with the Crip gang, but it was the Asian gang. Like now, so in the area where you were, was it just Laotians or was it other Asians also in your group?
Okay, that right there is a story of its own. Um,
Okay.
as I grew up, I was growing up with Laotians that were representing Crips and banging
Mhm.
Crips. Um, but as time passed along, I joined a gang called the Other Side Gang, based in the Empire, based in Corona, Riverside, and Moreno Valley area. So I joined them because they was more my crowd versus the individuals that I, looked
Okay.
up to. It was more, but as far as that's concerned, and as far as as far as the Asian nationality of that gang, it was primary back in the time. You have to recognize it was the 90s, but back in that time, they were mainly Filipino, but they
Okay.
had Vietnamese in it, they had Chinese in it, they had Koreans, they had Tongans in it, Japanese in it, and Laos in it, right? So that would they will consist of, and now this generation of today, they're all mainly Laotians,
Mhm.
because they flip like that during through time, start jumping in Laotians, and after that, so that's just pretty much the gang itself, you know, back then and now, that's what the nationalities now being Crip. Like, to be honest with you, I myself I'm a Crip, you know, but as far as the gang itself, the other side gang, TOSD and then Empire, um, Riverside Corona area, they're Crips. But if you move towards the Marina Valley area, it's a Marina Valley TOS gang over there. They're Bloods. So one might wonder how that works. How that works is that uh, we were established as a Crip gang, as Crips, for lack of a word, in Riverside Corona area because the people that were getting jumped in, they were came from Crip families, whatever their background was, and that's how it became Crip. And you know, like the Tongans, they came from a Crip background, right? And I came from a Crip background, so that's how it was Crips and other reasons behind it. But with Marina Valley, um, you had individuals that were Bloods that had made a name for themselves in the streets and eventually became some type of influential person or for lack of a word, maybe some type of shot caller. And that individual will be a Blood. And then, then that would become pretty much they would represent the red rag. But for the most part, um, it would be bypassed to where it will be the same gang, right? But most of the time they were banging the Marine Valley TOS, they were banging with, enemies of their own because the distance was like pretty much 30 minutes away from Riverside Corona to Marine Valley. So we had enemies we were banging against. There's some occasions that would come, the Marine Valley TOS would come to our area, and there's occasion we would go to their area. But nevertheless, it's the same gang, and there's Asian gangs that are like that, depending because we have different cliques and different sets, depending on the city and depending on the individuals that jumped in, and depending on pretty much that area or that hood they're at. They don't mean if they got black gangs there or whatnot, there are Bloods in that area, then they'll probably be Blood. Then they got, worse, you know what I mean, and vice versa. So it's confusing, but they got Asian gangs that are like that, depending on the clique of that gang. But there's still one gang.
Okay. All right. So you out in the street, you and your gang, and like at what point did you get your first incarceration?
I got my first incarceration. I did 2 terms. I got my first incarceration. I did 2 terms, total of 11 years. But how I caught my case, to cut the long story short, is I was dealing drugs and filtering through the Marine Valley area and selling to dope dealers and let them meet up with me in Riverside and let them take it back to Marine Valley and serve it out there, right? So how I got caught is I dealt with individuals that were different races, not predominantly mine, but there's Asian gangs out there that normally just deal with their other Asians, that's it. But I dealt with other races because to me, money was money, right? When it comes to money, it's just like whatever at that point. So, I dealt with one individual that were, for lack of a word, he was black and he said he was a Blood from Florida. He called me over. He called me and I just thought it was normal, right? So when wanted me to meet him up in downtown Riverside area, and I went there and I got pulled over by the police for a traffic violation. And at that point, I already knew that I got snitched on, ratted on at that point. But anyway, they pulled me over and for traffic violation, so to speak, which it wasn't. But that's their excuse, right? So they asked to search my vehicle. I declined. I said, and then they brought the K9, found some drugs, and from then that's probable cause to go ahead and raid my house from there. And they raided my house and found, over a pound of drug. And then another half a pound or so, or some of that nature. I can't recall how much of a different drug, and then guns um, that were loaded, money, um, even seized my vehicle. So the cars I had that were worth value, they seized it. Um, and that's how I caught my first case. And from there, they sent me off to prison.
Okay. All right. So you catch this case, this drug case pretty much. So I
Mhm.
guess your first stop is the county jail. Now walk me through that. You coming in as an Asian, but you're also in the crib in the county jail. So what happens? Do people hit you up, ask you where you from, or what's that whole process like?
Okay, the process was my first term was in Riverside County Jail. The process is they'll hit you up, whether it be Southsiders. Well, the Southsiders will ask you, hey, you the homie, because they want to see you the homie because even though you're Asian or whatnot, it's still got Asian Southsiders, right?
Hmm.
And Asian gangs back then, we would dress like Southsiders anyway. Sometimes they can't tell
Okay.
the difference, but we have shaved heads and stuff like that. Dickies, Nike Cortez, Pendletons, Ben Davis, and things of that nature, right? So with the Riverside County Jail, they would hit me up, and the blacks that were Crips would hit me up too, and I would tell them where I'm from and things of that nature, right? And
Hmm.
for the most part, they got my back because there's not that much agents that are in county jails. But if you will, the Riverside County Jail was, that's how it was like, but it wasn't um as extreme, for lack of word, as LA County Jail, because my
Okay.
second term in the LA County Jail was more kind of different because of, you know, I mean, because the green light on the agents back in that time, right? So the green light was really more extreme and more recognized in LA County Jail versus Riverside County or Orange County or any other county. It exists, but it's more extreme there, it's more recognized there. Not sure you want
Okay.
me to elaborate on my experience with that or not. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
leave it
tell
alone.
me about that. Like, how did that green light come about?
Well, I mean, I um, heard different stories about the green light, to be frank with you, and I can't say it's 100% accurate, but there's going to be truth there, right?
Mhm.
So with the green light, it was like started with a gang called TRG, Tiny Rascal Gang, based in
Mhm.
Long Beach and different areas, Orange County and different areas, right? From what I heard and what I even heard from when I was um, incarcerated from with the homie, Cambodian homie from Mini Street, Santa Ana, TRG. It's not in Long Beach, but this what he told me. You know, um, that they had a war with a Hispanic gang, a South Side gang called East Side Longo in Long Beach area. So they did a drive-by on the Longo's house, and this is what I heard because I'm hearing different stories. But they killed the East Side Longo,
Mhm.
and I even heard a child was killed, right? So I mean, there's going to be different reports, different stories, and information about that. So, but regardless of the different stories, they're going to be somewhat the same, and one has to just figure it out, right? Maybe even TRD
Mhm.
itself don't even know the full story, even the OGs, right? So, but as far as that goes, in I heard in the county jail, the Southsiders got at the homies up in the county jails and approached the homies and basically kind of gave the homies an ultimatum and basically said that we have an issue with Tiny Rascals gang. We don't have an issue with all Asian gangs, and we are putting a green light, which is on site on Tiny Rascals gang, but we're not going to put a green light on all Asian gang members or Asians in particular, um, particularly in the South, not in the North, because that's a different, you know, culture and different gang culture, different things they got going on. But you know, and the homies was like, you know what, we're not going to go for that because those are our people, and we're obligated to protect our people, regardless of what they did and regardless of the situation. And the Southsiders said that, you know, since you guys aren't going to protect them and not going to let us have them, we're going to go ahead and put the green light on all 8 gang members at this point. So that's how the green light, for my best knowledge and the information I received and experience in LA County Jail, that's how it started.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now is that green light still in effect today, or did it just kind of die down? To
I
your
doubt it.
knowledge?
I could, now don't take my word for it,
Mhm.
because I've been out for a while now. I haven't really been an active gang member, because with Asian gangs, as you grow older and you get dirt and things of that nature and have a family and whatnot, you're allowed to live your life however you want to live it. You're still in that gang, but you know, you're not an active gang member. Just like myself, I live my life as a Muslim. I don't, I'm still part of the gang, but I don't participate in any gang activity or do any type of shot call, any advice for the younger homies. But I haven't heard the green light even being in effect for a while now, and I haven't been in the county
Okay.
for a while, so I doubt it's in effect, because I heard things that are the politicking and the different things in prison that are different now. So
Mhm.
I doubt it. I don't, and then you know, I see Southsiders, right, and they can tell, even though I have, you know, look like a Muslim, they can tell that, you know, that individual is an Asian gang member, or he used to be in one, or he been in penitentiary, you know, and they would approach me, shake my hand, how you doing, homie? You all right, homie? And
Mhm.
things of that nature, and talking about prison, telling each other stay out of prison. So, you know, you're not going to have that if the green light's still on, where the
Okay.
Southsiders are, you know, being cool with you now, you know, and vice versa. We're being cool with them. You're not going to have that if the green light's still in effect. So,
Okay. All right. So you do your time in the county jail until you get sentenced to the penitentiary. Okay. So now walk me through that. Is it the same thing? Once you hit that penitentiary yard, are you again hit up asking like who you are, who you run with, or is it just automatic that you run with the Asians, or do you have a choice? Like to say, hey, I want to run with the Asians, or hey, I want to run with the Crips. Like what's that whole dynamic once you hit the penitentiary?
once you hit the state penitentiary, the the sergeant, lieutenant, or whoever, because you got to go through a classification, right? So they, in order to house you and sell you, they will ask that question, regardless of what nationality you are. Ask you who you run with, and then you would tell them, I went with the Asians, I went with the Crips, I went with the Woods, with your whites, you know, I run with the Bloods, you know, blacks, Southsiders, Nathaniel, Bulldogs, whoever, right? So it's not based upon nationality, it's based upon the decision that that person, um, depending on, you know, what gang he's from, what, you know, depending on his race, nationality, it depends on different things. But ultimately, it's a choice of that person of who he wants to run with when he reaches the state penitentiary.
Okay. So when you went in, so how did you run when you went in?
I ran with the Asians and Pacific Islanders,
Okay.
also known as the others car. I ran with them for a simple fact that I am Asian, and
Mm,
I'm from an Asian gang. Now, mind you, I seen blacks that were from an Asian gang that would choose to run with the Asians and Pacific Islanders for simple fact they're in Asian gangs. And but if they chose not to, since they're black, they come on with the blacks. That would be their choice, right?
mm.
So, but that's who I ran with in the state penitentiary. But yeah,
Okay. And then was there ever any issues with the Crip saying, wait a minute, you was a Crip on the street, but now you are Asian in here. Did that ever present a problem?
no, you don't pose a real problem. Now, I heard complaints about it, but the complaint is not valid according to
Mhm,
me and according to the homies, um, because we are Crips, right, or Bloods or whatever. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's the Asian gang, and this is our
mhm.
identity. We're Asians at the end of
Okay.
the day. So, you know, but far as like being a real problem, it's not a problem. I seen homies that were Asian Pacific Islanders that were in Black Crips gangs or Black Blood gangs,
Mhm,
and they were run with the Asian Pacific Islanders. Now, mind you, they could have chose to run with the Cripple Bloods. That's a simple fact that they have two choices in that standpoint.
mhm.
So, as far as having an issue over it, um, a big issue, not necessarily.
Okay. And then vice versa, reverse that. Would there be a problem like if an Asian guy came in and said, nah, I'm not gonna run with the Asian car, I'm gonna go ahead and run with the Bloods. Would that then present a problem to the Asian? Would the Asians have a problem with that?
We won't have a problem with it. We'll look at him as maybe a traitor, right?
Mhm,
But I mean, as far as a problem, there'll be no problem. But as far as if there's going to be a riot between us and maybe that car that
mhm,
person that agent decides to run with would be a blood or crip car, which there's not too many riots with the Asian and blacks in there because we
mhm.
program with each other, right? So,
Okay.
um, but if they are one, then most of the time I myself and other individuals are instructed to, if there's a riot, or we're gonna attack them, or they're gonna attack us, or because when there's a riot, both sides gonna know about it.
Mhm,
So and be prepared for it, right? In any way, shape, or fashion. So I myself um, was informed that if there's a riot in that Asian individual, if you can get to him, go ahead and try to stab him or kill him, try
mhm.
to get to him, because he's considered a traitor, for lack of word, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and nevertheless, he'll be hard to get to because he won't be in the front line. He'll be all the way in the back. Or if they
Mhm,
know that there's going to be a riot, they'll tell him to stay in his cell because he's going to be
mhm.
targeted first and foremost. I mean,
Okay.
it's crazy, but that's just the reality of the situation. And no disrespect to any gangs or any races or any Bloods or Crips or Serenos out there. I'm just speaking on my experience and speaking from what I've been through and something that's subject as the truth to me.
Right, right. Okay. Now, so the car, now is it simply the Asian car or is it the other car? Or does that depend on the numbers? Like if it's a bunch of Asians, they'll call it the Asian car, but if it's a bunch of just a different hodgepodge, they just call it the other car. How does that distinction come about?
Well, it's called the other cars, but
Mhm.
I mean, I like the car, the Asian, Pacific
Okay.
Island cars, right? And with a situation with others, you can have Cubans in there, Puerto Ricans in there, but the problem behind that one, if there's a problem, for lack of word, and no disrespect to these individuals, they didn't grow up, they didn't have the same upbringing as we did, um, because Asians and Samoans, Pacific Islanders, we have the same upbringing. to
Mm,
where, I mean, we were in the same gang, we kicked it with each other out in the streets and things of that nature versus someone that's coming as the other and he's Cuban, Puerto Rican, or something that nature, right? We don't know this individual's really down with the car, or in a situation where there's a riot, he's really going to back us up or not in these situations. So, but far as like to, as a classification, then it would be another car.
okay. All right. So now tell me a little bit about the politics inside the other car. Because like for example, the Sereno car, they got like politics from everything, rules that dictate from everything you do. Don't eat with another race, don't do this, do that. How does the Asian slash other car, how do you all run your program?
Okay, it depends. To be honest with you, depends on the security of the yard, right?
Okay,
So let me start with minimum security, level one, level two facility.
okay.
Their politics are a little bit different because that's really a soft yard, right? Everyone's trying to go home at that point. Um,
Mm,
and as far as drinking and eating because we program with the blacks, as far as drinking, eating, and smoking with the blacks, they're allowed to do so.
mm,
Level one, level two facility. As far as like the Southsiders and stuff, you're still not allowed to do so. Um, they're allowed to do so with the whites and stuff like that, right? And other Mexicans, Paisas, and things of that nature. But if you're talking about and you move up to a level three, level four facility, um, we're not allowed to eat and drink with the blacks.
okay.
And the reason behind it is, and I don't, mean anything derogatory or anything of that nature, is the reasoning behind it is the politics are more stronger there. You have people
Mm,
that have all day, homies that have all day that's never getting out. And they came from a level four yard, whether it be Pelican Bay, or I mean, they had authority, right? And things of that nature. And they control the politics in the level three, level four yard.
mm,
And we're not allowed to drink, smoke, and eat with the blacks. Now you can do it on a down low, in the cell,
mm,
no one sees about it, but their reasoning behind it, and I accepted that reasoning. No, no, you can't question the homies, right? You can ask a simple
mm,
question, they answer it, and that's it. And you can't argue with them. They're saying like if the other race has disease, you're eating after the other race, smoking, and then you give it to the homies. That's
mm.
unacceptable. So that's the
Okay.
reason behind it. Yeah.
All right. So you can eat and smoke with them, but do y'all still program on the same side of the yard, like a level three or level four, or is that different also?
No, it's not different. We program with the blacks. We
Okay.
share the same side of day room, uh, the shower, um, the handball court, the basketball court, the workout area. We
Mm,
share all these things with them. And if they have Nathaniel's there, which Nathaniel's not going to be there unless it's a northern prison.
mm.
So I was locked up in a southern prison and a northern prison. But if the Nathaniel's there, then Nathaniel will program with the blacks and Asians or others, if you will.
Okay. All right. Now let me ask you this. So when you're in the Asian car, now I know like Asian is a broad term that could like include Laotian, Vietnamese, Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, etc. Now I understand like sometimes like on the street, Asian gangs may beef with one another. So is there ever a problem sometimes? Like say if the shot caller may be Vietnamese, but there's a lot of Chinese guys in the car, does that ever kind of present a problem amongst you all? Or do you all just like, look, it's not enough of us. We're not even gonna trip on that particular that ethnic type stuff.
Um, I mean, you're gonna have little issues here and there, right?
Mm,
As far as that concerned, if they have a certain Asian race more than the other, They, of course, there's favoritism there and,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But if you have multiple Asian races there, you won't have really one guy that's gonna call any type of shot with
Oh,
the whole
okay.
Asian car. You have, say, you have Laotians there, a number of them, and then you have a number of Cambodians there, you have a number of Vietnamese there. Then each individual that's chosen or has some type of reputation, um, you know what I mean, would actually be the spokesperson of that. And I mean, an event thing happens where maybe a Laotian messes up, then it would has to be referred to the spokesman or the MAC rep of the Laotians, and then
Mhm.
he would be like he would choose individuals that probably other Laotians to go ahead and DP that individual. Um,
Okay.
Depending on what he did, he can get assaulted in different ways. So depending on what he did, not sure if you want me to touch upon that, but depending on what he did, it would be depending on if they're gonna assault him in different ways or just give him a warning.
Okay. All right. And then and in your car, do you also do the whole thing of checking paperwork, like making sure there's no child molesters or any type of degenerates in the race? Is that a factor amongst the Asian car as well?
Normally, when you come to the yard, they want to know what you did.
Mhm.
Um, they want to know what gang you're from, if you're from a gang, what area. Um, but if you're a sex offender, child molester, or some of that nature, then that individual can't be in that yard. The individual has
Okay.
to be removed from that yard. But even if they don't show paperwork, they refuse, or they say that I lost it or any time, then they will have time, whether it be 30, 60 days, whatever the homies decide what time to give him, and he has to produce it during that time before that time expires. If he doesn't produce it, then he's in trouble.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Now, so given that you did two different stints in in the pen, how often would you say that the Asian card like had to either get in a war or a riot? Because my understanding that their numbers are small, so they don't have like a lot of the same issues. Say like the blacks and Serranos or the blacks and whites are always getting into it. With the Asian card, from your experience, how often did you all like have to like battle another group or stuff like that?
My experience, not much, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it depends. Like anything can be a form of disrespect in there. So
Mhm.
regarding another race, and even your own, right? So not many, and most of the violence, to be honest, you bro, most of the violence in there, the stabbings and things of that nature, is against your own race of
Mhm.
these different cars or even our own car.
Mhm.
There, as far as like the riots concerned, it's not what people think. This happens every day and things of that nature, right? It doesn't happen every
Mhm.
day. It's not like that. And when it happens, they put you on lockdown for, I mean, back when I was incarcerated, they can put you on lockdown for months at a time, so, and then they roll people up and, they might remove individuals that they believe was shot callers or people that were responsible for shot calling
Mhm.
those riots and move them to a different yard to ease tensions there. So as far as riding with other races, um, I it's not much at all. Now,
Mhm.
if an individual um, gets sentenced and he got a release date, that individual better hope he doesn't go to a prison that the homies are at war with another race, um,
Mhm.
because they're not getting out on their release date. Because you're going to be
Okay.
obligated. You're going to be obligated. You kind of have to contribute. Everyone has to contribute during war. So you're going to be
Mhm.
obligated to stab and do stabbings, and things of that nature, you're not going to just get out and release state. If you land in the penitentiary where the homies at war, you're not, you kiss release state goodbye. You might catch even life in there. So there's a lot of homies that went in there, got a release date, and they had to stab and stick people because they were told to, or they were obligated to, and then they're stuck in there for life now.
Okay, wow. Wow, okay. So it don't matter. So even if I'm a short time and I got like a year left, I still can be called up on to put in work against somebody.
Right. It don't matter, especially at work. Now, if you have a homie that's influential in the car, and he loves you, he'll look out for you, and he'll try to get you out of your release date, you know, and try to avoid a situation of calling upon you to go maybe stab a homie that messed up. You know, you might get out of that situation if you have a homie that loves you, that's an influential person in the car. But as far as a war, who out war in another race, he can't help you. You know, everyone has to contribute in that manner. There's no picking and choosing that nature. Everyone has to get down and stab the other group that you're going to war with, so to speak. So.
Okay. Now, in prison, I've heard like every group has your particular hustle. Like one group may be really into bringing in certain types of dope. Other groups, it may be gambling. Like, what were some of the hustles at the Asian car were kind of known for, from what you can remember?
From what I've seen, I mean, I don't mean to like contradict you, but there's no really particular hustle.
Okay.
What I've seen, it's pretty much, from my experience at the yard I was in, the homies wasn't really doing a gambling hustle.
Okay.
They were doing pretty much, you know, how can I word it without, you know, any type of issues here.
Right.
It would be pretty much the hustle will be drugs.
Okay. Okay. So that's more of a myth. It's not one particular group that does that. Everybody kind of has their hand in the dope trade then.
I mean, you're able to.
Okay.
You have people that are accommodating you, right? And have means to have it in there. Then that group would take those means, right?
Okay.
So, and what prison politics is, I mean, it's kind of not really, it's different from the streets, but there's some comparison there. Whoever controls the drugs in there pretty much can control some type of politicking or leniency there. You know what I mean? And change some type of rules that was blocked, you know what I mean? And change the type of rules there and negotiate with the other race because we got the drugs. If you don't want to negotiate with us regarding some type of rules and take away that rules, then you're not really gonna get, you know, your habits taken care of at this point, you know, or get the drugs you want from us at this point, or you're gonna have a little bit of difficult time. But as far as the blacks are concerned, it really, from my experience, it doesn't really matter if they got the drug trade sold up in the state penitentiary. The Serenos and of course the Woods, they cannot deal with them. Even as much as they want the drugs, they can't deal with them. With us, we program with the blacks and Northaniels and things of that nature, but they can bypass that because simply we're not black and still deal with us. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah.
Well, from what I've seen is, you know, it's like that. You can even call it a racial issue, you know, if you want to, right? So.
Okay. Now before I move into your transition out of prison, I just want to ask you a question, and this is just from your observation as an outsider. Okay, so in the prison that you were in, where there will be like war against the blacks, war, you know, the blacks and the Serranos or the blacks and whites, just in your opinion as an outsider, how did you see the black car functioning? Were there a group that held their own, or were they too busy fighting amongst each other in order to mount a good defense against, like, say, the Serranos or the Woods?
For my from what I saw and what I
Mm,
heard. Because you know, as an agent that's associated with an agent gang that's a Crip or Blood or whatever, but I predominantly chopped it with other Crips in there that were blacks. They would tell me
mm,
stuff, but even they don't tell me stuff. I see stuff, right?
mm,
So with there, they have like, you know, it's hard to explain, but let me explain it as best as possible. They got Bloods, right?
mm,
That are, you know, um, and they will have different kinds of Bloods. You know, they
mm,
would have maybe the IE blood or LA blood or blood
mm,
up north, if you will. They have them. And then the Crip will be the same thing, and they have like, what I mean, different Crips from different areas or different Crip sets, and it would be different individuals that represent that Crip set.
mm,
And they have times where they would basically just ride with each other. They had times like that too,
mm.
um, because it's not really just a black thing, so to speak, right? It becomes
Right.
like anything as well, and what area and Crip set or blood set you're from. It might sound a little confusing. It wasn't confusing to me, right? Because that's
Mm,
not how we get down. Of course, we have smaller numbers. They were bigger numbers. So, nevertheless, from what I see, um, that's what I saw. You know,
okay.
for their you know how they structured it. But if it's like they're going against like another race, then then they would all combine and then go at it with the other race. If it's a
Mm,
racial issue, right?
okay.
You can't, it's like it won't be like, oh, okay, a Crip caused that problem with the Southsiders, so it's a Crip thing. I mean, I don't believe it would be like that. I believe it would be all blacks at that point.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. So what at what point, switching gears here, what point did you start to say, you know what, I'm done with this prison life. I'm, kind of done with this gang life, that you said, you wanted to just change your life around? Like, when did that start to happen for you?
It was like a tough road for me, to be honest with you, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, like I caught two terms, right? But
Hmm.
the first term I was sent to a level 3 yard facility, locked up with lifers and things of that nature. Lifers that came from Pelican Bay, High Desert, Calipatria State Prison, um, and you know, control the politics inside the 3 yard. To the simple fact that it came from a 4 yard and had a reputation at that 4 yard. But you had lifers that would be like, bro, you know, you, you know, get out, stay out. You need to change your life around and things of that nature. And I thought about it, right, and
Hmm.
stuff. But I just after getting out, I still caught a second term. And after the second term, I was like, you know what? I just can't do this no more. Um,
Hmm.
I have to change my life around and change my mentality and try to be a positive person and do positive things. Otherwise, I can land myself in prison and spend the rest of my life with, the homies in there, and being there with them, you know, um, forever, for life. And that's not something that uh, I wanted to do and something that I see as anything futuristic for me. So that's when I just said that, I have to pretty much just focus on my religion as a Muslim and
Hmm.
not only and not only say I'm a Muslim, but practice it, pray and do things for my creator, and please my creator, um, and things of that nature. Because if one doesn't change their mentality around, I'm not saying you gotta be religious, but at least change your mentality and have a positive attitude and have a different approach in life, you're gonna go back in there. No question. I mean, 9 out of 10 times.
Okay. So was it different? So when you get out, did you still live in the same neighborhood?
No, when I got out my second term, I actually relocated to Tennessee
Okay.
for and worked there for a number of years and worked and pretty much started focusing on my religion, working and studying and
Okay.
what have you, and then I moved back here in time, and
Mhm.
then when I moved back, I kind of moved like maybe an hour uh, or so away from, my homies from my neighborhood, right? So, even though I'm not active no more, you still get invited, to parties and to functions, right? And for the
Mhm.
most part, I would decline it, unless it was a special occasion, be the homie's wedding or his kid's birthday, and things of that nature. Then I'll show up, as swiftly as possible. Then I'll leave,
Mhm.
because I'm not really. But me moving kind of a distance is I get to do my own thing, so to speak,
Mhm.
and they don't really call me to invite me as much because they know I'm far away, and what I mean, and I don't want to commute over there just to be kicking it, If it's not a
Right,
special
right.
occasion, I'm not going there just to be kicking it.
Oh, okay. All right. So now I understand that you've been into like get your own foundation. You've been to a lot of positive work, with former inmates, homelessness and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about the work you're doing now?
Oh, okay. A brief example of what I did a few weeks ago. I got invited by gang members or former gang members, if you will, that work with juvenile halls. They saw me, through some type of resource, and um, reached out to a friend of mine that knew me, um,
Mhm.
and requested an interview with me. And he told me that these individuals work with juvenile halls, right, and make videos with juvenile halls, some gang prevention videos. So I went to their establishment and they interviewed me, and for my best knowledge of it, it's going to be distributed throughout juvenile halls in California and for our youth, to watch it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we don't want our youth, no gang member or no man in prison, whether he be an active gang member or not. If they wish they can change things around, I mean, they would, but they can't. But um, especially one that cares and has a heart, whether he be an active gang member or not, um, shouldn't want our youth to face the challenges that we have faced, and as a youth, adolescents, and even as adults. Um, and hopefully, our youth will learn from our mistakes and know um, that they don't want to go this route, because it's life is just too short, bro. Just to waste it and just have a record and be incarcerated and pretty much ruin your life, if not almost ruin your life. Because I myself, I have a record, right? I don't have the privileges that a person with no record would have. You know what I mean? I can't do certain things. I can't apply to certain jobs. I can't, you know what I mean? Um, do certain things that a normal individual with no record can do. So at same token, um, it's still affecting my life.
Mhm.
You know, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So someone wanted to check out your work or no, get at you like for speaking or something like that. How can the people contact you? Like what's your social media stuff?
Oh, I have a channel called Muhammad Anwar Project, and
Mhm.
um, if one wants to subscribe and watch it, they're free to. But if they want to contact me and have questions or advice or things of that nature, they can contact me at Muhammad Anwar Project at gmail.com, and if I can answer the question and steer that individual to the right direction, then by all means I'll do it.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, I really like to thank you for coming on to my platform. I have been interested in the Asian car for a long time, so it's my first real insiders, get insight from an actual insider. So I really appreciate this. I applaud you on turning your life around and on the positive work that you're doing. So I hope I just wish you much continued success. And everybody, go check out Muhammad Anwar Project. He got a lot of good videos on his channel. Like you said, if you have any questions, about just anything, you can hit him up at his email that he gave. So once again, thank you all for tuning in to the PNG News Media Concrete and Steel Chronicles, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, any parting words, Brother Droopy?
Not necessarily. I want to say thank you for having me on your show, if you will.
No doubt.
Give me opportunity to present myself in a positive light and give awareness to individuals, particularly our youth, about being in gangs and prisons, and hopefully they take heed to it and follow a different direction. So I appreciate that.
Not a doubt. All right, YouTube. Until the next one, catch it in.